these aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact. I wish I could say happy Friday, but that wouldn't be true because it's actually 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. I'm late. I'm sorry. I've had one of the longest weeks I've had in a very long time, including family bereavement and very intense amounts of travel and work and meetings. But this video marks the end of a very long week of mixed highs and lows. And it's 5 Fact Friday. I've got another 7 facts for you. In fact, 8, in fact, 9 facts for you this week. There's been so much to talk about. It's not looking good for housing market health at all. In this video, I'm going to show you why house values in some parts of the country are actually down over 50% from their peak in real terms already in 3 years. And I'm also going to show you how the ONS is apparently just flat out lying in its housing price headlines by a significant amount. The ONS reported this week that UK house prices are up 6.4% year on year. I will show you their announcement from this time last year and this time this year and show you that it's actually down 4% using their own numbers. And there's no basis for that 6%. Anyway, the 5 facts are: number 1, the Bank of England warns of no more rate cuts. And in fact, today I've seen news of mortgage rates increasing. Number 2, Rightmove indicates weakening asking prices as stock levels reach record highs. That's the supply going up. Number 3, a 27% rise in complaints against estate agents in 2024 was reported, and that's relevant to everyone who's buying or selling, and I'll explain why. Everyone who had their complaint uphill got over £500 compensation, by the way, and it's worth doing. So I'll come on to that. That's fact number 3. Fact number 4, inflation rose quite sharply, back up to 4.1% CPIH. Not good news for the economy, not good news for the government, not good news for cost of living. Government borrowing massively went over budget again in April by over £2 billion over budget. They borrowed a total of over £20 billion in 1 month to meet their financial obligations. And this puts Rachel Reeves' fiscal rules in jeopardy. It also means that yet more tax cuts yet more tax rises and or public service cuts could be looming. A very big headline out this week was that net migration drops 50%. Now, this is ONS figures, and we have no idea how much we can rely on those anymore, but it's all we've got to go on. So we'll touch on what that might do to the housing market, because that's down 400,000. And then Property Investor Today reports stock surge causes increase in the number of price reductions. I'm taking it slow. I'm very tired. Forgive me. It's my first sip of Guinness for the evening. And cheers. And who have we got live? Who's watching this? Guys, go to bed. What are you doing up? Mike Dennington, hi there. D. Griffo. 56 people watching. I haven't made any announcements about this. What are you guys doing up? Anyway, I'm very, very happy to have your company. Let's get into it. I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of some of the stuff I'm going to go into. So first of all, have a look at this, because I want to just show you about these house price drops. Okay, and this is on the Otter Property website again, Otter, OTTA, property.co.uk/trends. And can you see that huge number in red? Can you see that number in red? Right? The South London, Southwest detached homes, the change from peak to now is minus 33.6%. That's not including inflation. That takes another 23% off that. So you're talking 56% house price falls from the peak in 2022, January 2022. 56% drop in the value of detached houses in southwest London. Okay, and I will go into that more detail. That's one thing I'm going to show you. The other thing I'm going to show you is this. So the ONS, right? The ONS reported what? It reported house prices up. That's the wrong one. Here we are. That's right. It reported house prices up. And I just want to show you very quickly, right? So this is from the ONS's publication this week. Here we are. Look, there's the date. 21st of May 2025. That was 3 days ago. And this is the figure they've got. The average UK house price increased by 6.4% to 271,000. Now they're saying that that's up. You can see it there, right? Up 6.4%. But last year, hang on a second, let me just get the. Last year, they reported 283,000. That's £12,000 down on last year. That's just using their own data. £12,000 down. That's 4% down on last year. And yes, some of you will know that they did this big downward revision, but on what basis are they calling prices up 6.4%? It's even when they don't do a big revision, they're still comparing revised with unrevised prices, and it's overstating it, and it's on a tiny sample. But let's get into the actual facts, all right? This is fact number one. I'm so tired. I don't even know what I've already said, but here is fact number one, reported by The Independent. Okay. Interest rates falling too fast, sparking inflation worry, warns Bank of England chief economist Hugh Pill. This was on Tuesday. He said that the quarterly cuts of 0.25% since last summer were too rapid. And what we can take away from that is, for those people who are expecting rates to be cut, there's no chance in the foreseeable future now of rates being cut. That's fact number one. That is a salient fact. It's a shame, because that's going to hurt transaction volumes, and everything I do is for more transaction volumes. But there we are. That's where that news is. So if you hear people say, "Oh, they're going to cut rates, they're going to cut rates," I mean, how many years have we been listening to? They're going to cut rates, they're going to cut rates. There's going to be 6 rate cuts in 1 year, and it just hasn't happened, right? Factor into your decisions that rates are not coming down anytime soon. Fact number two. Rightmove put its house price index. Here we go. And again, compare this with what the ONS said, that year-on-year house prices are up 6.4%. And Rightmove, which is famous for being the company that massively overstates house prices higher than anyone else, has said that prices are only 1.2% ahead of this time last year, due to decade-high supply of homes. What do you make of that? What do you make of Rightmove being so much lower than the ONS? And I'm also going to point out to you, while we've got the Rightmove data there, because this is fact number two, that Best Agent, which is my website, where we have the data for all homes for sale and to let in the UK, and these are asking prices, so that's the only commonality between Best Agent and Rightmove. The index at the moment is the asking prices. But the median asking price of sale agreed properties is £300,000, and it has been pretty much the whole of this year so far. All right. So the median asking price of properties marked as there's an offer has been accepted, so it's sold subject to contract, some people might call it, is 300,000, and the median asking price of stuff that's for sale is £340,000, and that hasn't changed either in about 5 months. So the median price asking prices haven't changed. Look at the volumes there. So this is 500,000 unsold homes, and that's up 5% on just a couple of weeks ago. 135,000 sold homes. This is England only, right? Not, it's excluding other countries. It's just England. So there you are. That's that for comparison with the Rightmove one. Where do we get to? Where do we get to? What is the next fact now? So that was Rightmove. That was fact number 2. Fact number 3, the rise in complaints against estate agents. Now, this is really important, guys, because this is a really powerful, it's one of the only tools that you, the consumer, the moving, selling consumer, has to fight estate agency overvaluing, because it is a breach of the ombudsman's code to knowingly overvalue a property. And if you can prove that the agent has overvalued and left you high and dry and unsold as a result, or sold for much, much less, you can make a complaint to the property ombudsman. And last year, 73,000 people contacted the ombudsman. And of those, 13,000, sorry, where are we here? So that's an 84% higher than last one. It doesn't say how many people on sales, but look at this. So 700, so 800, so that's 16,000 people complained about residential sales and were awarded £561 on average. Now, the point I wanted to make, because this is the first time I've seen this data for a while, is that for those of you who think it's not worth making a complaint, as long as you have a legitimate, valid complaint, there's no point complaining just because you're annoyed and pissed off. That's not going to help or work. And you can't complain to the property ombudsman until you have first raised your complaint with the agent and waited for them to resolve it. And if they don't resolve it, then you go to the ombudsman and they will look into it if you've got evidence of it, and they will award money and they will punish agents. So the agents have to pay the fines, and if agents do it too much, they get struck off. And so if you want to push back on overvaluing, which if you're a seller, you want to do, because overvaluing means you won't sell your house, I encourage everybody to file their complaints against agents who deserve the complaints, not against all agents. This is not an estate agency bashing point. This is a bash bad, overvaluing, dishonest, lying estate agents point. Okay. And it will start to make a difference as we publicize the fact that thousands of them are having complaints upheld against them. And if you just merely mention that you do not want to have your house overvalued, you really seriously don't. Okay, because you need and you want to sell. And overvaluing doesn't get you the price you want. It doesn't matter what price you want. It doesn't matter what you think your house is worth. The market doesn't care about either of those things. The market will decide what it's going to pay for your house, and it won't care a tuppenny halfpenny what's it about your feelings on the matter. Okay. But if you're a seller and you feel like you've been let down by an estate agent, they have to be a member of the ombudsman scheme or the property redress scheme. It'll be on their website which one they're a member of. You can make a complaint and get it upheld if you've got genuine reasons for doing so. So I really strongly recommend that anyone with a valid complaint against an estate agent makes their complaint to the property ombudsman. Okay, because the more that agents know that that's happening, the better they will behave, and the more they will stop doing things that put you at a disadvantage. Right. Inflation. Now, this is an unusual inflation. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I recommend you go and watch Sasha Yanshin's video. I'll put the link in the live chat now. Sorry. There it is. That's the GDP. That's the inflation one. Yeah, have a look at this video because it really is, if you want to understand it. So I'll put it in the live chat now. Search Sasha takes on UK and you'll see his videos, right? And it explains exactly what the input factors are to this inflation and explains why they're unusual. And it's to do with energy costs, but he really breaks it down in a lot of interest. But so this is what we've got. So last month, the March readout was CPIH was 3.4%. And CPIH, which is what affects all of us as individuals, has gone from 3.4% up to 4.1%. So that's jumped 0.7% in a month. And the only good news is that the owner-occupier housing inflation, so actual housing cost inflation, has fallen from 7.2 to 6.9. So that's good news, although it's still very, very high. And that's one of the reasons why buyers don't have the budget to pay what sellers want for houses. Okay, this is not, you can see there's that trend has been for quite a while now, going back to this time last year. And it's just been trending up. It's been trending, not rapidly up, but it's just trending up, right? And it's not good news. Absolutely not good news. It's a nightmare for the Bank of England as well. Yeah, hi there, Exotic Doll. It is a late night show, as you quite rightly point out. So we are now on to point number 5. Just a quick one. Hold on a second. Yet more bad news for all UK citizens as the Chancellor blows through her borrowing budget by 2.2 billion in 1 month. And this fiscal failing costs her nothing and it costs us all in lost prosperity. It means yet more cuts than planned, yet more tax rises, and yet more monetary misery. And there is the ONS's graph. And it's that blue line on the right-hand side, which is too high. And it's how much the government had to borrow in 1 month. And this always makes me think to myself, when I hear people going, no, you don't need business people running a government. It's not the same at all. A government is completely different from running a business. And I'm like, really? And you see stuff like this, and you don't understand that people who are operating a budget, and they are operating a budget in the same way that a business operates a budget and a household operates a budget. You don't think there's a benefit in having people who know how to operate a budget in charge of the country? Does this government look like it knows how to operate a budget? We now know, we have the facts, they don't. You need people who understand how to operate a budget. And that doesn't just mean accounting, that means managing operations and costs and budgets and all that kind of stuff. It's an absolute clown show at the moment on the budget. So that is public sector borrowing, bad news again, unfortunately. And then the next fact, so we're now to number 6. This is the big headline on immigration. So long-term net migration is down by almost 50%. The number of people immigrating long-term minus the number of people emigrating long-term is provisionally estimated to be 431,000 compared to 860,000 a year earlier. So look at this graph, right? Total net migration it's a provisional estimate, but it's estimated to have come down by 50%. Now, people often scream and shout and stamp their feet about how unchecked migration is what's driving house prices up. And that's not strictly true. Unchecked migration definitely drives rents up. Of that, there is no doubt. But it doesn't, there's no evidence that supports the fact that it's actually pushing house prices up. And people go, but it's supply and demand. It's supply and demand. If you've got this many people coming, you haven't got this many new houses, then that's going to push prices up. No, it's more complicated than the housing market, because what affects house prices is the availability of finance. That's it, right? There are not very many net migrants coming in with cash, to buy houses. There are some. So people, for example, from Hong Kong have been coming over. A lot have been, but that's relatively isolated pockets. It's not a nationwide influx. But everyone else has got to get a mortgage, and so it's very much down to the cost and availability of finance. Because if it was just people, well, everyone would buy a house, wouldn't they? It's not about the population. It's about the availability of finance. All right. So, but the point is that if population growth is slowing and birth rates are falling very steeply, then this will only have a reduced effect on house prices. Next up, Property Investor Today. I love the choice of wording on here because this is aimed at investors on this website. They talk about price reductions increasing as the market suffers a supply surge. Why is it suffering? Isn't it? It's good that there's more for sale, right? Not if you're a property investor, I suppose. There were more than 100,000 price reductions in April, making nearly 388,000 price reductions so far this year, 20EA has revealed. The numbers are the largest seen by the company, with reductions currently tracking 20% higher than year on year. And they found that although the volume of price reductions has increased, this appears to be related to the increased stock for sale. So look at this. So far in 2025, 38% of concluded listings had at least one price reduction. And this was 38.4% in 2024. Compared with last year, the price reduction rate has reduced in all price bands except for over $1 million. It's still, every time I see this, it reminds me of all those people going, oh, it won't affect the rich. The rich will just keep buying property. And there's this wonderful idea amongst the people who consider themselves not part of the rich, that the rich just have unlimited money. It's not the case. In April, the number of reductions hit 104,000, which is higher than all prior Aprils going back to 2019. So, yeah, there's a link to that article below if you want to read that. All right, guys, so that's the 7 facts. I now want to just recap again the ONS stuff. Okay? And just remind you that you cannot look at or believe the ONS headlines on house prices because they are a lie. Let me just remind you. 3 days ago, the ONS said that the average UK house prices increased by 6% to 271,000 in the year to March 2025. So I looked up their announcement from a year ago, and it says that a year ago, why can't I find it? There it is. Average UK house prices were 283,000. Well, that's £12,000 more than they just announced. So they should be providing their explanation for this measurement, and they don't. And yes, there is, they did this big nationwide downward revision on prices in a big step without any reasonable, proper explanation. But even before they did that, we were seeing that every time they announced year on year, and I will keep repeating this for everyone because everyone needs to know this so that you can just discount it. When you hear an agent telling you to make your offer higher, because didn't you know the owner says house prices have gone up 6%? You can go, no, that's not true, because the ONS compares unrevised figures from the most recent month with revised down figures from last year. So that creates an artificial increase in the price that isn't true. And if you look at Halifax and Nationwide and Rightmove and Zoopla, they're all saying 1 to 2%. So if all of those guys are saying 1 to 2% increases, but the ONS is saying 6%, it's like they don't care anymore. Now, what I want to spend a bit more time on is this. This is Otter Property, and I'll put the URL in the live chat so that anyone watching this can. I'll have a look at questions in a second, right? This is really worth taking a minute to look at. I'm going to just show you something, right? At the moment, this is showing detached house prices in Oxford, where they're saying that the detached house prices in Oxford, the change is only minus 2.2%. Let me get it bigger on the screen. Okay, this is worth getting bigger on the screen for this. And that reminds me, I want to show you guys about what this is inflation, right? So what would have cost 100,000 in 2021 is now costing 123,000. So that's 23% inflation in those 4 years. 23.5% inflation. Okay. So that's for the whole country. And that's not even CPIH, that's just CPI. That's how much your money has devalued by in that time. That's how much houses have devalued by nominally in that time. So when we look at these house price, the price changes on Otter Property, to work out the real price change, we have to add in that 23%, that downwards 23% value caused by inflation. Okay, so let me just start by showing you this map on the left-hand side. Is England and Wales, and when I look at the colors changing, right? So I'm just going to explain what these color changes mean. It's really interesting. So this is when I select all property types. Blue means a nominal increase in the last 12 months, and red or pink color means a nominal decrease in the last 12 months. Nominal means it's excluding the inflation that's happened. Now that's for all properties. So it's showing that in most areas, there's been a slight nominal increase. Some areas more than others. So like in Darlington, there's been a 12% increase in house prices in Darlington in the last 12 months. Because 12 months ago, prices were £132,000, right? And now they're at £148,000 in March. So that they're actually at their peak now. Okay, so that's why that one is dark. That's why Darlington is dark blue on the map. But if you start to change different property types, the flats in Darlington are down 11% from their peak, but they're still up 5% on a year ago. Terraced houses, they're almost at their peak. They're just down from their peak in February, but they're 13% up on last year. Semis done something different again. They're at their highest price right now. So semi-detached in Darlington are very high, and detached are down 4.5% from the top. So in every single postcode area, the 4 different property types are all doing completely different things. Now, ignore the right-hand side of the page. Just look at the left, right? What you're looking at now on the left is what's happened to detached houses around the country. Oh, I was showing the wrong page. Sorry, guys. That's very frustrating. What you're looking at on the left-hand side of that page now is what's happening around the country for detached homes. And what you can see there is the light is kind of a slightly more red than blue, okay? And this is for detached homes. So that's the detached home outlook. Now, when I change it to a different property type, semi-detached, it changes to more blue. Terraced is even bluer. Flats, it all goes red. So what you're looking at there is the flat market nationally. Now it's the terraced market nationally. Now it's the semi-detached market nationally. And now it's the detached market nationally. 4 completely different housing markets nationally. Which is why you really should completely ignore national average house price figures. They are for nothing more than PR purposes. And these show you that all these different property types do completely different things. And then now let's look at some of the places where I want to show you just how severe house prices have come down. Okay, so we're now looking in London. Flats. Okay, flats in West London are down 20% since 2020. And that's excluding inflation. So that's 20% plus 23%. So that's 43% drop in value when adjusted for inflation. So in real values, flats in West London are down 40% in real terms, 43% in real terms. Okay. Terraced houses, they're down 22% from their peak, down 16% in 1 year in West London. So 22 plus 23, so that's 45% down in real terms. I mean, this is why this is just, it's not widely reported. And the Financial Times did do a report this week about, I need to find that actually. Let me find that because that's worth sharing with you guys. The Financial Times talked about London house prices being down to 2013 levels. Here it is. That's right. House prices in Kensington and Chelsea have fallen to their lowest since 2013. Right, and this is not including inflation. The average price in the UK's most expensive borough plunged 15% in 1 year to March, says the Financial Times analysis of the data from the ONS. And yet you still hear people talking about, oh, house prices just going up. No, listen, let's just find where house prices have gone up the highest in the country. Okay, let's go back here. And look, East London, East and Central London, the change from peak to now. West and Central London terraced houses are down 54% since 2021. And no detached houses, so terraced and then flats. Flats down 33%. I mean, these are eye-watering numbers. Go and have a look at this, guys. Go and have a look. And now let's look at Southwest London, where it's the worst. So here we are. The change from peak to now is minus 33.6%. This is detached houses in the London Southwest postcodes. 33% down nominally, plus 23% inflation is 56% down in true value in the last 4 years. 56% down. Okay. Oh, but Charlie, you're just picking the biggest fall, the price falls in the country. Yeah, I am. That's true. I'm just trying to make sure people understand that it is happening and it has happened. And let's just go pick up some other ones that just. So what's this? Watford, detached houses down 16% from the peak. Semis only down 2% from the peak. Terraced houses 1% and flats down 8% in Watford. Kingston upon Thames, 17% down from the peak, 10% down the last year, excluding inflation. Okay, but let's go and look at the places where it's gone up high. So we're looking for the dark blue areas in all. So Halifax. Prices are up 12% in the last year. All right, nominally. Take out 4% or inflation, so that's a real increase of 8%. So yeah, there are places where some prices are going up that much in a year. Now, if we look at flats, so we break it down to flats in Halifax, that's a 3.1% change up in a year, down 1% from their peak. But that 3.1% is 1% lower than inflation at 4.1%. So that means that despite that 3.1% increase in prices for flats in Halifax, that's still 1% below inflation. So in real values, flats in Halifax are down 1%. Terraced houses up 8.9% in a year. They're at their highest now. They're at their peak now. Take off inflation, that's 4.8%. Semi-detached, 10% up. Take off inflation, 6% up. So this is the place. These are the places with the highest, and detached only 3.3% up. So it's slightly down. See what I'm saying here? You've got to go. There is no nationwide trend. There just isn't. It depends where, and it depends what kind of property. So let's have a look at this. What's this? Doncaster. Flats in Doncaster are down 13% on the year. And that's down from their peak a year ago. All right. And if you add in the inflation drop, that's down for 4.1. That's down 17%. So that's a 17% drop in the value of flats in Doncaster in the last year. What have terraced houses in Doncaster? Terraced houses, flats have gone down 70%. Terraced houses have gone up 4.2%. So just above inflation. So terraced houses in Doncaster have stayed at equal value, basically, if you take into account inflation. Semi-detached 3.4% up, so not keeping up with inflation, and detached 2.1% up in Doncaster. And again, let's just find that the strongest price increases. So it's 12% is the strongest price increases in the country. But take somewhere random like Leicester. Okay, 3% change on all properties, 3% drop on flats, 1.8% increase on terraced, 2% increase on semis, and a 0.8% increase on detached. So, who cares what the national average is doing, right? You just want to know what they're doing where you are. Am I right? All right, that's enough rambling from me. Go and check it out, guys. Go and check it out. You should all be in bed. I should be in bed too. I just wanted to wrap up before I go to bed. Do we have any questions on 5 Fact Friday? No, you're all just chatting between each other. Okay. Did I put the address? Yes, I did. Otter Property. Put that on screen now. So that's the URL that you want, otterproperty.co.uk/trends to go check it out. And you click on the raw data tab and then click on your postcode area and then click on the property type you want to see the data view. And by the way, I didn't mention it. All of that data on Otter Property is directly from the Land Registry's own data set. Right, guys, one more piece of news from this week, because it's 5 Fact Friday. And one of the reasons it's been such a long week is that I had a meeting on Wednesday, and it was the first meeting where I convened some of the people who are going to be on the board of Best Agent. And I can't mention any names at this point, but they are some very well-known, high-profile people in the industry and also from outside the industry. And it was incredibly encouraging and exciting because this is the goal, right? Fix housing, fix everything. That is the goal. That is the mantra. How do we do it? By improving transaction times and transaction volumes, adding liquidity to the market, making it easier to move home. Whatever house prices are doing, it should be easier to move home, making transaction times much shorter. And that meeting made me feel like we're a big step closer to being able to fully launch Best Agent and start to move the needle very quickly on these things. And I'm putting the board together at the same time as I'm just preparing to do a finance funding round for Best Agent. I already have a really healthy and impressive list of experienced startup investors who are waiting for our information. And I'm just finalizing the director list before I go to them with that. And if my reading of the situation is right, if my reading of the sentiment is right, then we could well be oversubscribed for the funding round, which should be very, very cool. Unsurprising, actually, when you look at the numbers in it. And a couple of you have actually approached me with private messages on LinkedIn and on X. People who I don't know saying that you're interested, and it's not for the general public. It is only at this stage for experienced startup investors, angel investors, no venture capitalists. Sorry, fellas, no venture capitalists. You're just too much like hard work. You waste a lot of time and you make too many hoops to jump through, offering nothing in return. So, no venture capitalists. I've had nothing but bad experience from you guys in the past. So, keeping this to private people only. But yeah, I mean, those of you who've been following my channel for a long time know that I've been working on Best Agent in the background for a long time, and it's been taking a frustratingly long time. This is very major news for me and for Best Agent and for the housing market, because believe it or not, despite the horrific state of the housing market, there are no other attempts currently underway to radically transform the housing market into a high-functioning, easy to move, less risky marketplace, right? There are various people trying to do various things. There are government groups talking about stuff, and there are industry groups talking about stuff. But Winston, thank you very much. That's very appreciated. It really is. Yeah, but can you believe it? Rightmove is making no attempt to improve the housing market. In fact, Rightmove's existence makes it worse because they, intentionally or not, Rightmove stokes overvaluing. I'm just reading some of these comments. There's an outside chance that we may potentially further down the line do a public crowdfunding raise. That would be a probably allow people with £100 if they wanted to join in. But that's just a possibility further down the line if we need to. But for now, it's just getting a decent chunk of money together from investors, experienced investors. But I cannot wait to reveal the names on the board. There's a couple of shocks. A couple of, like, the industry's going to be like, who? What? I'm really looking forward to it. We are going to stir things up, shake things up properly. And as someone said in response to my post on X about this the other day, because I said, what's the post I made? I'm going to find it. It's worth finding. Might take a minute to find it, actually, but maybe not. Here it is. Here it is. I will share it with you. A step closer to bringing the biggest change there's ever been to the whole housing market. It really will be. I'm assembling a team of powerful people to bring the fight for fairness and transparency without it being hijacked by corporations or government. That's what we're doing. On that happy note, I'm going to check for any last minute questions. Yeah, I do want to get a Fix Housing, Fix Everything t-shirt done. Red Dust or Redust 25 asks, what's the USP of Best Agent? The goal of Best Agent is to shrink transaction times from the current 20 weeks down to 8. Imagine being at the beginning of January and starting the process of moving house and moving into your new home or moving out of the one you're selling by the end of February consistently. That's what we're aiming for. The real USP, though, is going to be transparency of prices, transparency of process, easier to avoid bad agents, easier to find good agents. Basically, it's don't need a selling point because we're not selling anything. It's going to be free for the public to use. It will have more property than Rightmove, so it will have all homes for sale on it, right? Which not even Rightmove has. So have more property on it. You will be able to book viewings online like that, which you can't do on Rightmove. You have to inquire and wait to hear back and all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to book viewings online, speed up the process. You'll be able to follow up that viewing and make your offers as well. We are planning to release live video viewings of properties where the agents or sellers are happy to do that. We also publish the price history and the agent changing history on properties that have been on the market. I'm right in the middle of answering your question, Redust. Why are you asking it again? It's on screen right now. You're asking it again. There you are. Anyway, but guys, on that happy note, I'm going to just remind everybody that if you're moving home, whether you're buying or selling or both, the way to give yourself an unfair advantage over other movers is by being better prepared. That sounds boring, but I can't tell you how powerful it is and how 90% of movers come to the market completely unprepared, and they're just easy pickings, like fish in a barrel for people who want to rip you off when you come to the market not prepared and not in control of your move. Come to the market prepared. Be in control of your circumstances and your choices. And if you do those two things and follow the advice I give in all my videos, you will get your offer accepted over and above other people who make higher offers, and you will sell your home sooner for more money. Go and look up my videos, the 10 golden rules for home buyers and the 10 golden rules for home sellers. If you're new, go and watch those 2 videos. Otherwise, you can go to my website, and if you don't already have one, get your own independent mortgage broker on that URL, and your own work with one of my 2 amazing conveyancing firms as well. If you're selling, get your conveyancer before you choose your agent. Go and watch the 10 golden rules of home sellers to find out why. It costs you nothing extra. You sell much faster. It is the single biggest no-brainer of a step that all sellers can and should do if you are serious about selling. If you're only going to sell if you achieve some fanciful fantasy price and you don't want to spend money on conveyancers in case you don't sell, you're not really you're not serious about coming to the market. If you're moving because you need and want to move, and you understand and accept that the market will pay the price for your house, and you come to the market better prepared with your sale pack ready and with the conveyance lined up, you will sell faster for more money, and it won't cost you any extra. In fact, most agents will charge you a lower fee if you've already got a conveyance lined up and you're coming to the market sale pack ready. It's honestly, it's just a colossal no-brainer. Put yourselves in the shoes, sellers watching this, right? Put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. And you're looking around houses. Which houses do you want to buy? The ones where they're asking an unrealistic price and they don't have a conveyancer appointed. So even if you do get a deal, you're waiting a month before they're even going to send your lawyers their legal pack. Or do you want to buy a house from a seller who's already got the legals ready, serious about selling? Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you start and get your house sale ready first if you're serious about selling? Doesn't make any sense to me why people wouldn't do that. And of course, property packs, your search packs you can get through me. If you use my conveyancers, you'll end up using my search packs anyway through those guys. If you're a buyer, you should be ordering your search pack on your purchase immediately that the seller accepts your offer, if they are already got the legals ready, or as soon as they've issued their legal paperwork. Yes, it's currently 20 weeks. Redust 25, you're obviously new here. Welcome to the channel. On that happy note, I'm going to wish you all a good night, a great long bank holiday weekend. I'm going to tell you that I think the housing market is heading for real trouble this year, both because there are going to be fewer and fewer buyers as interest rates go up, as inflation goes up. Fewer and fewer buyers bidding on more and more properties, and that does only one thing to prices. So I see prices sliding for some considerable time yet. And on that bombshell, have a great weekend. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.